So I want to welcome everybody tonight to the New York City virtual meetup, PowerShell topics primarily, and looking forward to Michael presenting on au2mator self-service portal. But before we get started, just wanted to mention next month we have Script Runner is going to come and talk about their product. Heiko's been on before, and there's some new updates that should be interesting to hear. And I have some more speakers in the pipeline. And if any of you would like to present, reach out to me, send me a message. I often have a bunch of new presenters that, if you want to do a 5-minute talk about a project you're doing, something you think is interesting in the PowerShell space, or something interesting about the project you're doing, always enjoy having new folks come on and practice at giving public speaking. So that would be great. Let me know if there's a particular kind of author that you'd like to, or speaker that you'd like to hear from. Let me know, and I can invite them on and get some interesting details from them. If they would like to come, it'd be great. Also, I'll post this in the chat. This is my YouTube channel. This is where I post all the videos from these meetups. And I've got 12 to 15 of them out there already on some really good topics, even topics I go back and look at. So I'll post the link in there. You want to subscribe to that and hit the notification bell on it. You'll be able to know when I post videos, as well. I also post videos on PowerShell and other topics like GitHub Copilot about Visual Studio Code. I'll do little small videos under 5 minutes showing cool different pieces. And when I post those, you'll get notified when they're out there. So if you want to view them, it'll be fine. So with that, tonight we're going to hear about au2mator self-service portal. Michael's going to present, get the most out of Microsoft Automation with the au2mator self-service portal. You can use PowerShell, Azure Automation, or System Center Orchestrator to delegate your automation tasks. So Michael's going to walk us through. He's been a cloud and data center MVP for a few years, and he's also the CEO of au2mator.com, which provides the self-service portal. So I'm looking forward to seeing this presentation. So Michael, if you're there.
Yes, thanks, Doug, and welcome to the community. You should hopefully see my screen in a few seconds. Great. So thanks again. Today I want to present our self-service portal named au2mator. A few words to my person. My name is Michael Seidl. I'm Microsoft MVP since 2015. I'm located in Austria in Europe. I'm also doing automation consultant for more than 10 years. So all the IT process automation with different solutions, mainly with PowerShell in the background for automation. I'm also the founder and CEO of au2mator. You can find my blog at techguy.at or au2mator.com, the same on GitHub. And I'm the father of 2 sons, 1 and 4 years old. So au2mator was founded in 7 years ago in Austria and Europe. Back then with the idea to provide a web front end to trigger System Center Orchestrator. I'm not sure who of you is familiar what is System Center Orchestrator. It is a Microsoft product to do workflow automation and IT process automation, but there was no front end to trigger that thing. So that was the main idea to found au2mator as a front end to trigger Orchestrator back then. And since 2019, so mainly 3 years right now, we also have support for, of course, PowerShell scripts, Azure Automation, and System Center SMA, but that's not that much important anymore. So mainly we use, our customers have PowerShell, Azure Automation, or System Center Orchestrator. And right now we are happy to help many customers all around the globe with au2mator to self-service their IT. The agenda for today, we have a short introduction, then we have a lot of demos. So we see how the product works. You see how to write the PowerShell scripts and to provide them and delegate them to your users. We have many showcases. In the end, we talk about license and how you get your hands on the product. So how all this works together. So first of all, you have to build your automation. So write your PowerShell scripts, write your Azure Automation runbooks, or do your orchestrator runbooks. Build the initialized data. So you need to, you want to push some data into the automation. So for example, you have a user onboarding. So you need the first name, the last name, the manager, the department, entry date, and so on. So that's the initialized data. In Orchestrator, it's initialized data. In PowerShell or Azure Automation, is just the input parameters. So that's simple PowerShell scripting. And of course, you want to have some return data, so the result of the automation. So that's what you have to do, and that's not related to our product. Then you have your script, and you want to delegate your script. You want to create a service, a form where the users can put in some values and to trigger the automation. So you have automated, you create a service, you configure the questions, you can configure an approval workflow if you like. So someone needs to approve, and then the automation is triggered. And all these services can be configured with role-based access. So you can control who has access to those services, to those delegations. And then the user can start a request. He fills out all the information. He's waiting for an approval if it's configured. Then the automation is triggered, and you get your data back from the automation. So why is this all useful, or why should you do this? So of course, increase security. So a lot of customers, what we see, have written the PowerShell scripts already, and everyone can use it. So they store the credentials in there, or all the users who are executing the PowerShell script have domain admin rights, have Office 365 access, and so on, or Azure access. So the script runs in their context. So that's not the best idea. So you can delegate your automation. You can use some service accounts, and the end user or the users who is using the form, the delegated form, does not need any rights on the target system. So for AD, for Azure AD, for Office 365, for Azure as well, whatever. Additionally, you can then reduce your application admins. So you do not need that much domain admins or Azure admins or Office 365 admins. You can remove those admins and just delegate all those tasks with au2mator. Of course, increase the quality. So all the tasks are done the same way each way. So it doesn't depend if who is executing the PowerShell script or the process. It's every time implemented the same way, and the process is every time the same way. Of course, you can save time and money. So of course, time, you can delegate the automation, so the IT can focus on different tasks and not on your daily recurring boring tasks. And of course, this saves you money, and then your users and your IT staff is happier as well. And that's enough to talk. We will switch over to the demo. During that, please, if you have any questions, just post them into the chat. Doug and I will have an eye on the chat, and I will try to answer your questions as soon as possible. So to get a feeling of how all this works together, we will now build a simple service to add an Active Directory user to a group. So what we did already prepared is a simple script. It is not nice, it is not much error handling, but it's a simple script to put a user into a group. So if you think about, you build an automation to put a user in the group, what do you need as an input parameter? Of course, you need a user, you need a group, and optionally, you need a comment. So what is the reason why to put the user in the group? And then we have a simple try and catch. We add the user to a group. If everything is good, we return all is good. If something went wrong, then we get the return something was wrong. So how does this look like at the au2mator front end? So we built a new service, which named New York City PowerShell Meetup. Add user to group. I just need to add this prefix because we had a lot of examples to add a user to group, and this needs to be unique. So we also have a New York service group. You can select a nice image for that. And now the important stuff comes. So first of all, we need to select the automation. So you saw the PowerShell script in the background. So it is stored in the New York PowerShell meetup. So we select that script as well here, but not the orchestrator. We want to have the PowerShell, and we select the script here. It is located, need to scroll down a little bit. It is here, and we need to select that script. So as we select that script, we will read the parameters and present this to you as questions. So you see the C user, the C group, and the C comment. It's the same you saw here in the PowerShell script before. Now you can give a nice title to the question. So choose user. And of course, now it would make sense to have not a simple text field. So someone needs to enter the name or the SAM account name or the UPN. It would help to have a selection of all your Active Directory users. So we can switch between different question types. So in our case, we need an LDAP question type. And the query is object class is user. And we want to see the name. If you do a simple test, we see all our Active Directory users from all the users from our Active Directory. That's not a sync, that's not a cache, that is live against the Active Directory with that LDAP query. So we want to have a table and we want to have a single selection. The same for the group. We see took a nice name, choose group. It is required, and as well, it wouldn't make sense to have a text field or something like this. We use an LDAP query. And in that case, it is object class equals group. And I want to see the name, short test, and I get all the groups. So that's it. The last one is the comment. And this is not required. It stays a simple text field. And that's it. Here we want the table and save. So we had our automation, the PowerShell script. We build our service and we can use it. So let's try to start our service. We created this one. And now the result is, it looks like that. We can now select a user from our Active Directory. So we can select myself in that way. We can select any group. For example, do we have in here the domain guests? And we can have a comment. It is a test and finish. So what is happening in the background? Exactly that PowerShell script is executed, and my user should then be a part of this of the group. If we take a look back on my request and we see the result here, so that's the result, and we get also the information back from the PowerShell script, and the job data was all is good. So the try and catch, we just reached the try, we added the user to the group, and that's it. Of course, we get an email and a Teams integration for all of these updates, but that's not the main focus for today. So we have a simple PowerShell script and we can add a user to a group. Now we get to do this a little bit more advantage. So I want to edit the service, and I want to make sure that I only can add a user to a group where he is not a member of. So otherwise I need to take care of this in the PowerShell script or in the automation. And that's a little bit boring. So I can select all the groups and it is already in, and so I can save time. I just want to present all the groups the user is not a member of. So what the query looks like is this one. So we have the query, we want to see all the object class where the member we select on the previous question is not a member of. So this is a placeholder. Just need to remove this and say the member is, we get it from the previous question, and then get the brackets, and that's it, and save. So what is done now is that we only get the users where the user is not a member of. So if I select Ahmed here, get all the groups where the user is not a member of. So the idea is, and we go back to the services and see the details again, that you just consume the previous answers for these questions. So in that case, the other query is give me all the groups where a member is not the distinguished name, and our distinguished name is from the previous question, see user, the result of this one. So we get all the groups where the user is not a member of. So we make sure we do not need to take care in the automation, is he a member of or not? We would do it in the front end. So that's also the main idea, to provide a front end and to guide the users through the form and to make sure that they cannot do anything wrong. So if you make sure that the input values are as good as possible, then the automation is much, much easier to handle. So that's the main idea. The composite, we have the remove user from a group. That's already a existing one. So that we have the same logic, but backwards. So we want to remove a user from a group. In our case, I want to remove Ahmed from a group. And here I only see groups where the user is a member of. So it doesn't make sense to have here a list of all groups. We only want to see groups where the user is a member of. So I select the group, and then the automation will do the rest. So that's a simple idea of what you can do. So build the automation with PowerShell, Azure Automation, or Orchestrator. It's the same way. It's always the same. So in Azure Automation, in PowerShell, make your input parameters and then do your script. In Orchestrator, it's just initialize data and then do your workflow. What else do we have is an example for SQL question type. So when we have already prepared this one, that we do not need to take that much time. So we have also a question type, which is SQL query. I haven't started the management studio. I will do it in the meanwhile. I prepared some tables as an example for user onboarding. So you have different departments in different locations in different countries. And you want to have a selection where the user will be onboarded. So in what country, in what department, and in what location. So usually it would make sense. So usually huge companies have this information stored in any external HR systems or something like this. So our idea is to get those information from the place where the information already exists. So we do not want to have this data anywhere else and sync or anything like this. We want to consume the data where this information is already stored. So in your org management or something like this. So we have created here some tables. So we have, as an example, a country table where all our countries are in, where we have a location. So we have Austria, Germany, and the United States. We have then our locations. What is in Austria, we have Vienna. In Germany, we have Berlin. And in the US, we have New York and Chicago. And then we have departments. And in Vienna, we have finance and marketing. And in New York, we have finance, marketing, and sales. So that should be an idea of how our HR department or org management could look like. And what is in the background, how to configure those services. So we have, first of all, we need to choose the country. So we have a simple SQL query against this database and select star from country. So we get all the information from this database. That's the first one. So the next one is I want to have the location. And now I want to see all the locations where the country code is the selected country from the previous questions. And the same we do for the department. Okay, so the result will look like this one. We go to that and the SQL test. So first of all, we select the country. I want to have United States. I want to have the location. In our case, I want to have New York because I know that there are departments. And now I want to select the department. Okay. So if you go back and see, I want to remove the finance. And here I'm gonna select not New York, I will select Chicago. I will not see any departments here because I have no departments configured in my table for Chicago. I only have it for New York and Vienna. So that's the idea to provide those information where they're stored. So you have the SQL question to get the information from your existing SQL database. If you do not have a SQL, if you do have other databases, other REST APIs, or anything like this, give me a few minutes. I have something for you if that is the case. And for this one, you have unlimited possibilities to build your forms, to build your automation. So we have here 2 examples how a user onboarding can look like. Yeah. So of course, first name, last name, description, a job title, the location. In our case, these are organizational units from the Active Directory. So we can choose where the user will be stored. We can select the manager. So who is the manager of the user? We can select additional Active Directory groups where the user should be a member of. And of course, for Office 365, the mailbox language, the mailbox license, so F3 or E3, the mail domain. So maybe you have different mail domains and so on. So this is completely up to you as you need to provide this related to your process. This is just an example. The form and the questions can look like very differently. So that was now from one side. You can also provide those forms not only to your IT internally or to your HR department for user onboardings. You can also do a request a software. So just switch the browser. Here I'm logged in as an end user. So I can just start a few simple requests. And one of those is request a software. What is done here is, I'm not sure who is familiar, who is using SCCM or how it's named now, Endpoint Manager. So what we do here is we provide a list of all the packaged software from Endpoint Manager or Intune. So he can select, I want Adobe Photoshop, and he needs to tell me a reason, I need this. And what's happening now is that the automation is not started. This service is configured for an approval. So when we go to the background, just take a look at the service itself. It was this one. It is here configured that the manager should approve. So you can select if the manager, so that's the wildcard, and it's configured that the Active Directory manager should approve. Or you can do this by just select the user or a bunch of groups or a bunch of users who need to approve. So in this case, the manager needs to approve. So luckily, I am the manager. And of course, I get an email in the background or a Teams notification. But I need to go here and see, okay, Mike has requested Adobe Photoshop and he gave me a really good reason. And now I can decide I want to approve or deny. I also can do a comment. And only if I click the approve button, then the automation is triggered. So in our case, a PowerShell script or Orchestrator runbook. So that's the idea, to have a simple approval step before an automation is triggered. Also, what we often use is for user onboarding, that the manager needs to approve of the new user to if the information is correct, if the rights or group memberships are correct, and so on. So you can use this in several ways. Next one is what you see here, that when I start the request, I directly here to select the service. So I can favorite my services. I can search for something here. So I can start directly the service and go ahead. There's also a function that you can start a request for someone else. So the idea is that you can, for example, manage your team. So you can start a request for your team members. And for example, reset the password or enable the user because they was on holiday and forgot the password and disabled the user, or you want to set the out of office reply for the user because he got sick or he forgot to set the out of office reply before he left for holiday. So you can do this for your users without the IT. So you do not need to create a ticket or call the IT. Your IT staff do not need to log in as the user and set the out of office reply or go to the Office 365 admin. The manager can do this for the users in this portal. So what we do here is that you switch that property, and so we can start a request for someone else. And this is my team. So this is configured as the managed by attribute in the Active Directory. This can also be group related and so on. In our case, it is related to the managed by attribute. And then you can start a request for someone else and set, for example, choose the set out of office reply. And then you can do this for your user. You select the type. Is it immediately or is it planned? If it is planned, then you can do the start and the end date, for example. If it is immediately, then this date start and end date picker is not visible. You just need to enter the text. We also have customers, they select, they can select a template. So it is out of office for holiday, for sick or whatever. It's just an example what you can do here. A lot of other customers, what they do is to provide the managers or the supervisors a way to update any Active Directory attributes, for example. So we have an example here that I want to update Jasmine's information from the Active Directory. So we have a service called update user details, and I want to change her phone details. And you see as a light gray background, those are the actual values from the Active Directory. So you can provide this information already in the form. So it should be also for the address. Yeah, so that's the address of Jasmine. So I can change those values from the Active Directory and provide this as a front end or delegate this to their admins or to supervisors or manager or what else. So you just need to enter the new city. You can also do a drop-down list or whatever. And then the automation is updating the property in the Active Directory. So what we see here, or what we saw in the example, is that we have used PowerShell. We have a lot of examples for Azure, for Office 365, SCCM, SCOM, Teams, Active Directory, and so on. So that's all free on our GitHub repository. It's not related, or it's not bound if you're a customer or not, that it's free to use. What we saw right now is a lot of PowerShell script, local PowerShell. What you also have is an Azure Automation example. So I'm just here, my browser with Azure Automation. It is a very simple example. It's just a runbook which takes 1, 2, 3 numbers, do a calculation, add each number, counts each number together, and then returns the result. So that's a simple Azure Automation runbook, but it's the same way you saw before in the PowerShell script: input parameter, automation, and do a return. And now we try to create this one, and back to the portal, services, we create a new service, New York City, Azure Automation calculation. We do the same for the description. We put that in our service group. And we select image. It's not that important right now. So first thing is we need to select the Azure Automation credentials. So you can have multiple Azure Automation credentials or tenants and so on. You can also select a hybrid worker. So the automation is then executed from the cloud over the hybrid worker in your local environment. And you select the automation. And this is our calculation runbook you saw in a few seconds before. And that's the same method, number 1, 2, and 3. And what we do now is we just save it, keep it simple. What I want to show you, one thing is that what you can do is what you saw before when we trigger a form that is hire and forget. So we trigger that form, the automation runs, and you can start the next one or do whatever you like. We have the option that you wait for the automation to finish, and you get the response directly on the screen. So I will do this in that case. So we get immediately the response for the calculation, and New York City and the Azure Automation calc. So we do 1, 2, and 3. So we click finish, and now the screen keeps here. We see our Azure Automation. We do a refresh on that page, refresh. So we see it is completed already. And if you go back, the result is 6. So Azure Automation did a correct calculation of our numbers, and we get directly the response back from the automation. So we have to stay here, or the user needs to stay here, and he gets the information back. So you can configure this per service as you like. Mike, yes, you need to add an Azure app registration. You need to get the client secret and the client ID, and that is stored in the background. So if you take a look here in the automation, you see here are my client IDs and AD tenant and so on. So that's stored here in the information. And then you can select that one in your automation, in your services. If you take a little closer look to our examples, what you see here is, let's take in this one, it's everything every time the same. So you can configure or select an approver mode. So that's already what we did. You can select if it's a single approve or deny, or a percentage from a list of users. At the advanced thing, you can do the wait for the automation and the custom redirect and so on. But the most important thing is the security. So each service can be limited to a specific Active Directory group or to more specific Active Directory groups. So for example, a user onboarding should not be available for each user, so only for the HR department, for example. To reset the user password or to add a user to a group, maybe only to the service desk users or to the IT staff. To create the virtual machine, it doesn't depend if it's Azure, VMware, Hyper-V, or Amazon. Maybe it's only for the higher IT stuff, not for the end users, not for the service desk. So that can be configured here. Additionally, what you see when we start the request, first of all, you need to select a service group. So for example, I have a service group for all my teams management, and then there are the services. So you can configure a role-based access for the service group, in that case, MS Teams management. And then you can configure for each service separate role-based access. And then it depends in which groups you are a member of or not. Then you see those services or service groups related to your group memberships. And what I want to show you is an example of a PowerShell script I mentioned, a question type I mentioned before. It is the PowerShell question type. Let me see, it is the license. Yes, assign a Microsoft Online license. So we have an example here to assign a Microsoft Office 365 license or Microsoft Azure license. So you select the user, and then you have to select the license. Usually before, 1 or 2 months before, we just had a simple drop-down field, what you saw before in the user onboarding, where you select Office 365 E3 or E5 or M5 or whatever. And right now, what we have new is a question type named PowerShell. So you can have a PowerShell script as question type. So that was the thing I told you for the SQL question type, to get the information where it already stored and not to have any synchronized data to au2mator or something like this, to get the information where it is stored and provide this as a drop down or picker or whatever. After the SQL question type, we had discussion. What is next? So should we add a REST API question type, or should we add a Oracle question type or something like this? And for us, the easiest way was to have a simple PowerShell script. As we think with PowerShell, you can get all the information from a REST API. You can get it from any other databases or anything else. So we have the idea to have a PowerShell script, get the information, provide this to the end users. What we do here is, let's see and just try this one. So the license, and we want to assign a license. So I need to choose the user, and then I want to choose a license. And what this is the live licenses from my test tenant, including the amount of licenses, the used licenses, and the available and the state. And what is in the background? In the background is is this one. What we do is we do a live REST API call against the Graph API. So we use the Graph API feature here, and we get all the licenses, the subscribed SKUs from my tenant, and we do a simple PS object with a nice name and the prepaid units and the consumed unit and the availability and the state. So we just build a simple array and provide this here as an answer for this question. Now I can select, I want to have an Office 365 E3. Okay, I have license 5, I have used 5, I have available 0. I shouldn't select that because maybe this will result in an error. So right now otherwise you have configured it that you can overbook your licenses, but you see directly here, okay, I have no license available. So it would be a good idea to not select Office 365 E3 right now. So that's the idea, to get the information directly live without any sync, without any cache, live from the system where you need to get it. Okay, I will not assign a license, so I need to call someone, I need to purchase a license, and then it should be available here again, and then I can select the Office 365 E3 license. Of course, you can change a PowerShell script to not display that license. That's also an idea. What I have chosen here right now is that the user who is using that service knows, okay, we have E3 available usually, but we do not have it right now because we have no available license. So we do here a warning so that the user can just see, okay, we have it, but there is no license available. I need to call someone. But that's just an idea how to use that PowerShell question type. You can then, we have a lot of examples for Azure to get the Azure resource groups and to get the Azure role assignments and to add a remove user from Azure role assignments and so on. And just to get an idea of what else is possible, just see the list and just see what's possible. We have a lot of customers using it for the teams management as well. So to create new teams, just to make sure that not everyone can create a new team. So the third football, soccer on Wednesday on the weekend team or something like this. So it's just a simple form to enter a name, enter a type. So is it a professional, a fun team or whatever? Who is the owner and so on. So we have a lot of customers using that. And in the background, there's just a PowerShell script, which is using the Graph API to add to create the teams and to set the owner. A lot of customers are using it with Endpoint Manager or Intune to request software, add users to collections and so on. Related to the admins to add users to group, remove users from group, onboard or offboard users, so to the HR, to the managers, to the IT staff, to do all the user management stuff, also to create a request Azure guest users, for example. That's highly requested. For Azure as well, to create new resource groups, to add new Azure VMs without interacting to the portal. You can do it in the portal as well, but the idea is to reduce all those people the possibility or rights to create Azure resources. So you can delegate those things. You can do an approval before the automation starts. And also one of the main thing is everything is documented. So everything what you request and what you approve and what the result is, it is documented. So I can take a look and search for who has enabled that user on that day, because it has to be done here, because there is no other possibility. So that's a huge advantage. Everything is documented here. So just a little reminder, we are nearly at the end of the demo and of the presentation. So if you have any questions, just put it in the chat. So there's one question from Mike: is there an integration to use HR systems as a data source to automate user onboarding workflows? Yes and no. So the integration in au2mator is to get any information from the HR system, SQL or PowerShell, to get the locations or any other informations. Everything else needs to be done with the PowerShell script. So if you have, for example, SAP HR success factor or something like this, or Sage, I'm not sure what is mainly used in the United States. If there is an API, you can use it with PowerShell script to get any information out of the system, to write back any information to the HR system. For this, you can use the PowerShell script, yes. But au2mator, so to keep it very simple, au2mator is a web frontend to trigger Microsoft automation. We have those question types with the integration from the PowerShell side, but the product itself has no integration to any systems. We trigger the automation and we have those question types, but everything else needs to be done with the automation itself. Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's it. So I will switch over to my demo. Just give me a second. I switch over to my PowerPoint. So you saw already the main top services from our customers. So typically user onboarding, user offboarding, VM provisioning, change AD details, server provisioning, grant mailbox access, for example, or grant file server access, and so on. So that's a typical thing what our customers, or the top services what our customers do. Of course, we have a lot of happy customers, and we're happy that we have those customers. We're not allowed to talk with all of them in the public, so they're a little bit not so easy to read what our customers are. So that's just a little list of them. Now it's getting the interesting part. So yes, there is a license you have to buy. I have something special in the back, a few minutes. So we have also a free community version, what you can use, but some details in a few minutes. So about the license, we have 4 different licenses. Every license has the same feature set, the same functionality. There is no difference. The only difference is we count all your Active Directory users, and that's decide what license you need. So we have up to 999 users, 5,000, 10,000 at unlimited users. And now that we have a one-time price, and then we have a maintenance for each year. And with the maintenance, you get the support and all the new releases with an active maintenance. Just one more, we count all the Active Directory user objects in your Active Directory. So that's just to make sure. And of course, you need a SQL. So the database and all the information is stored in the SQL database. You can use the free SQL server. You can use a shared instance. So you're not forced to pay for a SQL license. You can do it, of course, but you not need to do it. So you can use a shared instance. If you have a shared SQL server with other databases, just put the au2mator database there, or you can use the free SQL Server license from Microsoft. So what's next? Or at the end, As I said, we have a free community download for you. It is time unlimited. It is feature unlimited. The only limitation is that you can build 2 services, so 2 forms. What you saw before, we built one form to add a user to a group, and we built the form to do the Azure calculation. So that's the 2 forms you can build. So that's the only limitation. It is available on clickautomator.com, New York PowerShell meetup, so NYPSM. You can just enter your mail and first name, last name, and then you get the download link and can try it for free without any time limitation. And I'm happy if you have any questions. If you want to try it, just go to the URL, to the link, and make sure you get the download and try it for yourself. So that's the end from my side. Thank you very much. Let me know if you have any questions. Doug, I'm not sure if the attendees can unmute their mic and just talk, or just write it to the chat. If you want to see anything else, just let me know. We can go back to our demo environment and just take a look at what you want to see.
Great. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, if anybody wants to unmute, ask a question, or wants to type it in, that'd be great. That was really appreciate the demos. I had a question about, I know you used Runbook as a back-end point. Can you use Azure functions if I have a PowerShell Azure function, or is that part of the product, or it's coming?
Not yet.
Okay. Nope. No pressure on that. I didn't think it would be. That's a little more complicated.
Not yet, but I think you can trigger an Azure function out of the Azure Automation Runbook, so that can be a way. We also had customers asking us if they can use logic apps or Power Automate. We think about adding more services. Yes. Yeah, so that's something in the pipeline here. Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, always a big, it's a choice, interesting set of trade-offs, which ones to support.
Yeah.
Awesome. So any questions? Otherwise, I think that was really great. Thank you. Got a good depth and breadth of the product. And when I post the video, I will also post the links to that as well in the description, so folks can see where to go grab these things or get in touch with you. But if nobody else has questions, I think we're going to wrap up. Thank you, Michael. Really appreciate you taking time. I know it's late for you. So
thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Welcome anytime. All right, everybody, have a good one. We'll talk to you next month. Michael, have a good one. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.